What's up, Vanda crew? We're sailing around the world in a Hinckley Bermuda 40, so you're going to want to be subscribed. Today we are back at the boat yard. I'm going to be catching you all up on everything, all the projects we've been working on, get you all caught up to speed. So you might notice there are a few things different about the boat. I believe when we last left off in vlog 8, I was installing the floor beams here, soul bearers, and since then a lot has changed. So one of the things we did is I built this centerboard mechanism. It still needs to be completed. I'm gonna run a piece of tube on the inside since this is below the water line and attach it with G-Flex epoxy, and that will create a watertight seal. For those who don't know, this mechanism is the centerboard hoist. This boat has a 1,000-pound centerboard. It's actually in this compartment right here that can be raised and lowered. When I bought the boat, the mechanism was broken and also leaking, so it needed to be replaced and repaired. The mechanism that was here before was not the original Hinckley mechanism. The original owner who I had bought the boat from actually changed the mechanism. He was using a portable bomb hoist that was used in World War II to actually load bombs onto airplanes. So pretty interesting. I don't know how he managed to get one of those and put it on here, but he did. Anyways, I've changed the mechanism. We got a stainless steel pole here. So this is nice. You can hold on to this. It runs all the way to the cabin top. This is the top portion of the centerboard hoist mechanism. We're using a winch with a worm gear to drive it. This essentially locks the winch in place and allows it to only move up or down when being rotated. Since the centerboard is 1,000 pounds, we can't use a traditional winch because then when you let it go, the centerboard would just fly down and probably break stuff. I created this temporary metal plate. I'm gonna have to remake this in stainless steel. This was just a prototype, but essentially the cable will feed through here and this will mount on the bottom of the winch like this, and the winch will go here, and then this will drill through the fiberglass. The plate will sit on top of the pole, the stainless steel tube that comes up through the cabin top, and allow the weight to be transferred from the hoist to the plate to the tube so that the cabin top isn't taking any of the weight, any of the load. For my cable, I'm using Warp Speed Dyneema. So this is rated at 10,000 pounds and has a working load of 2,000 pounds. So my centerboard weighs 1,000 pounds, so this should be more than strong enough. And it will survive a lot better than traditional steel wire in the marine environment. It'll be able to get wet and whatnot and not corrode or rust or anything. And it'll also feed through the winch and feed through these sheaves a lot more smoothly. We've also repaired a few spots of fiberglass in the boat. So here's one of the spots we filled. Essentially, I laid a sheet of fiberglass on the backside, let it cure, and then I took fiberglass strands and epoxy and filled it all up in here. And then once that was done and I let that cure, I came back with fairing compound, and then we sanded it and made it nice and smooth. I also did the same thing over here. So we had 2 of these holes. This one I think still needs to be sanded a little bit, but for the most part, those are all done. I also filled all the holes on the cabin top from all the old deck hardware. So we kind of used the same method, except we only used high density filler. We didn't put fiberglass strands or anything. This is in the port side lazarette. So this is a hole we patched. I'm going to be sanding this today, getting it nice and smooth and laying some fairing compound. We had another hole on the starboard side that was somewhat identical. Basically used the same method, patched the back side with a sheet of fiberglass, laid it up with strands of fiberglass and epoxy, and then put a sheet of fiberglass over it. I'll be sanding this one today too, and then hitting it with some fairing compound to hopefully come back and smooth it out next time. One of the bigger projects I finished was getting most of my through holes installed. So I believe I've installed 9. I have this one, I have 2 left. This one and one in the bilge. This one is above the water line, the one in the bilge. I'm just waiting until I'm done doing all my interior work. I installed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I also glassed over this through hole. This was a 3-inch through hole. I'll show you guys this one on the outside. So this is gonna be that 3-inch through hole we glassed on the outside. Essentially the same method. Use one side where I patch it up and then I let it cure so it's nice and hard, and then we go on the other side, fill it up with strands of fiberglass and epoxy, lay it up over it, sand it, smooth it out. I also repaired my rudder with some thick sheets of fiberglass. So this has 2 layers of fiberglass over it. You can kind of see it here, but the rudder was cracked and had holes in it, so it just needed to be sealed and watertight so it's not filling up with water. And we had this on both sides, so you can kind of see here how it was cracked. So we patched all that up. We also did some work on the transom. We began patching this up with fiberglass. So I laid up 3 layers of fiberglass over this. There were 2 holes in the transom, or 3 holes actually. We had a hole here, a hole here, and a hole here. And so those holes needed to be sealed. So I used a structural marine foam to fill them up. And I kind of wish I had used fiberglass, but at the time when I did this, my fiberglassing skills were not the best. So I didn't really think about that. But yeah, I use marine foam, and I'm going to be coming back over this with, I'm gonna sand and ferret out, and then I'm gonna come back over it with an epoxy fairing compound, make this nice and smooth, and then hit it with some primer and some topside paint, and the transom should all be taken care of. And then we can put the name and the hailing port on the back of the boat. And finally, one of the more recent things I've done is finished painting my mast and spreaders. So these are my spreaders. You'll see they look almost brand new. I use Total Boat aluminum boat paint for these. Only took me 1 gallon to finish my mast and my spreaders, so that was pretty good. I sprayed the spreaders and I rolled and tipped the mast. I'll show you the mast here in a second, but I actually built this little archway, which I was pretty proud of. I built this thing and then I was able to put a tarp over it so I could spray and not make a mess. So yeah, that was pretty cool. I'm pretty proud of that. And here is the mast. So this is all painted now, looking brand new compared to what it looked like when I got it. The paint was completely peeling when I brought the boat to the boatyard. So I'll give you guys a close. You can see it's just so much better now. So clean. So very happy to have all that done. It's looking great. And then finally, we painted the interior. So it still needs to be touched up a bit, but I'll give you guys a rundown of how it looks. Yeah, I basically taped everything off. I sanded everything, ground all the fiberglass. So all of this, I ground it all out. You can kind of see on the camera, you can't tell in person. I'm not sure if that's the lighting why it has this weird discoloration, because it doesn't look like that in person. It's solid white where I can see it, but I think it still needs another coat at least. And then there are a few spots that need to be touched up, but I'll kind of give you guys, I'll do like a panoramic shot. We also repaired where the chain plates connect to the wood. So I filled this with an epoxy fairing compound, sanded it down and painted it. And this is the other side of that section where we did the same thing. So this was completely rotted out and falling apart. And now it's really strong. So once I finish everything in here, all the touch up and the bilge, the plan will be to get a floor in here and get this engine running. I was able to start it when I had it in the water, but it does have quite a few issues that need to get fixed. So once I get the engine running, I believe my plan will be to finish up, start working on the exterior. Well, I might even start working on the exterior before I get the engine running. When I work on the exterior, I'd like to get the cabin or the cockpit painted and the top sides painted, as well as varnish the top sides. And then I have my hatches and everything that I finished. I showed you in the last video. we'll attach all those. The boat will look brand new. After I get those top sides finished, I'll probably put in my last through hole, fill this hole down here, do my bottom paint, and then the boat should be pretty close to being ready in the water. I'm trying to think what else I might need to do. But yeah, we want to get a floor in here and at least a bed in the V-berth. I'm going to do like a custom bed. I'm going to do like a king size bed so you can lay either athwartship or with the ship. Yeah, because we're going to be sailing around the world in this thing, so we need to be able to be comfortable. I haven't decided if I'm going to paint the exterior of the boat yet. So I think we'll kind of cross that bridge when we get to it. It at least needs to be polished. If I have extra time and money, I might paint it though. I'd like to do black and do like a gold cove stripe or something, but we'll see when we get there. So yeah, let's get started on our projects for today. And that's just going to be lots of sanding. So here we go.